Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, under this lesson, which is lesson number 4, we are trying to cover a lot of things. But before that, I would like to make the quotation, which I always do that. And one of the quotation which I'm covering is regarding about Holy Quran. When the revelation of Holy Quran mention about it, and we have arranged in the best form, وَرِتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. In this verse, the phrase in the best form indicate the putting together of parts of forms in a strong, consistent, and in a wide manners. Therefore, Arabic tartil is translated and collected in this form. The Islamic scholar Hafiz Fazl Rabi Saab has elaborated that this word, when used in the context of writing, can refer as a calligraphy, as a mean of beautifying the word of God. So today we are covering under this lesson, we are going to cover history of Arabic calligraphy, where I will show you Hazrat Hafsa Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anha's Quran as well, where I can show you the first Quran of the Quran which is in top copy of Hazrat Osman as well, and some revelation related to Islamic calligraphy as well. And then we will cover about Ghubār making, one of the workshop where we were showing Ghubār making paper as well. And my son shall then cover Dāl and Rā, a practice, how to write those alphabets. And at the end, we will cover Mohammed Zakariya's video, who is the great calligrapher who converted at the age of 19 to Islam, and because of the inspired through Islamic art. So all of these, please join us. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Calligraphy is the most highly regarded and most fundamental element of Islamic art and civilization. The word calligraphy comes from the Greek word kallos, mean beauty, and graphi, which means writing. In the modern sense, calligraphy relates to the art of giving form to sign in the expressive, harmonious, and skillful manners. Islamic calligraphy is one of the most sophisticated in the world and is a visual expression of deepest reverence to the spiritual world. In the Islamic land, calligraphy is understood to leave traces of a writer's moral fibers, and the quality of writing is believed to reveal the writer's characters and piety. The tools used to create masterful scripts convey the elegance of the esteemed art from the reveal the skills of diverse artisans, from paper making and bookbinding to gold beaters, illuminators, and metal workers. Calligraphy holds perhaps pride of peace in the foremost and perhaps most characteristics of the model of visual expressions in Islam. After years of practice, every master calligrapher does it automatically. However, the dot always allows for a quick check as to whether or not the proportions are correct. The Egyptian writer Taha Hussein, he mentioned that one side, other reads in order to study, while we have to study in order to read. His compliment is more just than justified. Let's go to the early development. The Arabic script was developed from the Nabatean script, which was itself derived from the Aramaic script. The Arabic language is a very ancient, but it was not a written language until perhaps the 3rd or 4th century CE. So the early development of Arabic script, if we look into the history of the Arabian Peninsula, the origin of the Arabic language, archaeologists have found inscriptions that show a close relationship between Arabic scripts and some earlier scripts, such as Canaanite and Aramaic Nabateans alphabets that were found in the north of the Arabian Peninsula. In the 5th and 6th century, the revolution of Islam had a major impact on the development of Arabic language and the script. The Arabic alphabets, which are 28, written from right to left like Hebrew, Aramaic, Syriac, and other languages from the same family. So you can see actually this one of the fragment which is showing that this was one of the famous poet Imrul Qais, who actually from the Namara, speaking of the famous pre-Islamic writing, and it is written on one of the tablets as well. So Arabic looks like this way at that time. I would like to mention some more attributes of Arabic as well. That Arabic, as I mentioned, written from right to left. Arabic is the efficient language with the 17 basic consonants. Vowels are indicated by markers above, below, or alongside the consonants. Arabic is generally written in cursive styles with letters linking to one and another. And there's no upper and lower cases in Arabic letters, but there are rules regarding the forms of the letters in relations to its place in the words. Early calligraphic scripts, it is called Al-Jazm, and which was used by northern tribes in the Arabian Peninsula. Many researchers think the roots of these scripts go back to the Nabatean script, and yet the early Arabic script also seems to have been affected by another scripts in the area, such as the Syriac and Persian scripts. So the Al-Jazm scripts continue to develop until the early Islamic era in Mecca and Medina in the west of the Arabian Peninsula. In the first Islamic century, the art of calligraphy was born. The first formal script came to emerge were from the Hijaz region of the Arabian Peninsula, most possible from the city of Medina. Those are early Kufic Qur'anic scripts, and with the stately vertically and regularities in the call mile. So over the course of their development, the Arabic script were created in different periods and locations. There's also a close relationship between each Arabic scripts and its common usage throughout the history. So these origins are Makki or from Makkah, Hari from Hira, or Madani from Medina. So these are the early concepts which I would like to mention that related to how this Arabic script is being developed. Today we are showing you how to create a Ghubār paper. It's a very traditional method, and in Iranian, mostly in Iran, people actually use to make the Quran in a way that it's got a spread of a very small dots on the paper, and that looks you don't need to do any illumination on that, and it's work like a Ghubār on it. So I'm going to show you a very traditional method how to do that. You need to have acrylic inks. Some of the inks, which is, I can show you different colors. This is maroon color, this is a black color, and this is a red color as well. You can use any colors to create that as well, depending actually what you are using it. and it can be used on any paper. You don't need to think about, oh, this is the paper, a glossy paper or any ahar paper. It can be used in any paper as well. And recently my son is actually creating his own Quran using the similar kind of way to making this paper. So let's start. This is the tool which we use. These are two funnels you can see over here, and it's work in a way that when we spray it, the liquid come out from this tube and it's spread and spray on the paper. So let me do some demonstration and you see actually how that works. I will take some of my calligraphy, which I did already. Sometimes people do calligraphy after doing this, making this Ghubār paper. But I'm going to show you how, even if you did the calligraphy, you can create this Ghubār paper as well. So I will take some of this. It's in the glass. It's easy to put it all the way down there, and then you will spray it like this. You move a little bit and spray it like this. You can dark as much as you can. And you can see now your paper with your calligraphy is already complete. I will do some others. Let me use another color. Very easy, you created your paper where you can do your calligraphy on that. Mostly you have to clear up all the time because other side of your paper shouldn't be actually mess up with the color. So I mostly actually clean it, and you can see you can make a little bit darker as well, like this. That's it. So another calligraphy, a paper which is a wax paper. So you can see any paper you can use, and I'm using a red color. So different way you can spray. More, if you want more spray on one side, you can do that as well. And now look at, see, this is your artwork is complete with the color form as well. This is, I did the calligraphy, and now I'm making my paper as well. So you can see actually in the middle, because I have more calligraphy, I'm not putting too much spray on that. But on the sides, it's more color on it. Sometimes your paper is moved like this, so you can tape it. Or best thing is, you can put some weights on the sides like this, and then you will spray it. Leave it for 5 to 10 minutes to dry. Mostly it take 5 to 10 minutes to dry. So I mostly put on the carpet sometimes in non-oily place, because we are doing this demonstration in the kitchen. It's the best place where you can do demonstration. But sometime if you're doing it in your workshop, make sure that you put some kind of aluminum foil on it and then do it, because then you can clean it very quickly. And you can see how beautifully balanced you made your Ghubār paper. These are the small dots, and you can see actually one of my work where I created this Ghubār paper with my calligraphy. Simple paper, glossy paper is much better than when you do calligraphy. You can cover that as well, and you can see over here. Similar paper, and now it's not white color, and it's giving a very simple, sophisticated effect on it. One thing very interesting, if I would like to tell you about it. Look, this paper, I'm making this paper for my son to do his calligraphy on both sides, because he's writing a Quran with his own hand. So what I'm doing is, I will spray on one side, leave it for 15-20 minutes, and then I do it on the other side. So he can write his calligraphy on both sides as well. So you can create your own paper for Quran writing, and then it's much better that in the future you have your own paper with the Ghubār on it, artistic way, very sophisticated way to create that, and then you can write your own Quran.
In the Islamic tradition, the calligraphic art usually existed as a part of the religious tradition, whereby religious texts, as well as what some would consider secular texts, but they often have a religious base to them, were produced to a level of art that was not consistent with just scribal work. In other words, they were done by master calligraphers who were thought of in an artistic sense, that there were personalities who achieved high levels of the art and were sought after and collected and became famous individuals who were respected and revered throughout history. You know, and a little bit like we think of painters. They often produced the elaborate and beautiful Qur'anic manuscripts, which were very important in the Islamic culture. And indeed, most of your high calligraphy developed in that angle from those people who were doing the Qur'ans. Rarely do you see books in the Islamic world calligraphed to the degree that Qur'ans generally are. This is the slate that you use to put the lines on the paper. It's a very interesting invention. In other words, you don't have to make lines with a pencil with this and thus mess your paper up. You just place this over the paper and rub, and a line comes up. And now I'm ready to begin the work. first we take a little magnesium carbonate. And then I get the ink ready. We use a porcupine quill to stir the ink up a little bit and get it nice and fluid. Well, I'll be using an ink that I make myself. It takes me 6 weeks to make about a quart. It involves burning linseed oil and kerosene mixture. Now you do it in the backyard. It makes the neighbors really curious what's going on. It's kind of fiery and smoky, you know. That's mixed with gum arabic. It's ground for 30 hours in a mortar and pestle after this. I'm using a European-based paper. It's an English paper. These were exported throughout the Islamic world. They were exported in a state that is not usable as it comes. Number one, they were white. No calligraphy uses white paper. It's an eyesore. It hurts the eyes. You want to have some color to it. Often they were dyed with teas, as this paper has been dyed with tea.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today we'll be covering the letter Dal. I've seen a lot of the practices that have been done for the alif and the ba and the ta, and they've been really good, absolutely incredible. So carry on practicing that and introduce this letter as well. So to write the Dal, there's a common misconception. People go straight down, but there's a curving inclination like this when you are writing. Now watch how my qalam is moving. Many people would ask that, is your qalam swiveling or does it stay at the 45-degree angle? Absolutely not. Your qalam is constantly moving while you're writing the letter. So watch this kind of like swiveling movement over here. When you stop, your qalam has to be straight, pointing straight, absolutely straight. Stop. Now we draw the head that we've been drawing constantly with the alif. Go up, look like this. Go down. You've made the general edge, and lightly through the tip of your pen, draw a kind of sharp shape. From here now we go towards the left hand side. Now again we go at nearly a 45-degree angle, virtually a 45-degree angle, and we go straight down. This is very straight. And you stop slightly after where you started. I'm going to leave an area here. You don't have to leave this area. I'm just doing it so it's easier for you to understand how the letter is composed. And then you have to bring it upwards. Slight curve. And the point of your curve has to be pointing towards the top of your letter. Now let's go through the proportions of this letter. The central area is 4 nuqtas. From your khat-e kursi, the line, it's around 1.5 to 2 nuqtas. And further on, it's only 1. You can see that this is almost a triangular shape, a right angle triangle. Because remember, you're coming down exactly straight over here. The swiveling movement is only from here. Now, if we elongate that line forwards, we can make another right angle triangle over here. Now, from that line, it's approximately 2.5 nuqtas, and the area, the depth over here is 1 nuqta. Now, from where your point finishes to the initial shape of the dal, you have around 2 nuqtas. And remember, the point of your dal is pointing exactly towards the initial shape. So this is your dal on its own. But in many cases, you write the dal as a conjugated, as a letter that is joined to another letter. Now let's say we have a ba joined to a dal. We do it like this. You do the initial part of your ba that you did in before in the previous lesson. Slight overlap. And you bring it up. And stop. You see the swiveling movement? That swiveling movement is reminiscent of the previous letter as well. Then from there, watch how I go down. I'm going straight down. And look, my qalam ends at the same level as where it was coming out. And stop there. I always bring my qalam slightly out like that I have an area where I can move and go to the next part of the letter. Now I leave a slight kind of dip over there. I go down and I'm slowly curving my qalam. Look at the orientation of the qalam. It's constantly changing. Now again, the beauty of this letter is that just because it's connected to another letter doesn't mean that the proportion is finished as well. Again, this is pointing towards the initial part of the letter. The depth over here is 4 nuqtas again. The depth over here is 2 nuqtas again. Again, 1 nuqta. There's a 1 nuqta depth here. Now, it's 4 nuqtas this way. And it's 4 nuqtas from the top as well. Exactly symmetrical. So these are the types of dal that you can write, and as a conjugation as well. And whenever it's connected to a letter, you'll see it like this, or at the end of a word. And when it's singular, you'll see it like this. So I'd love for you to practice both styles, both types, and send your practice, and I'll definitely give some feedback. Jazakallah. So now we'll go on to the letter Ra. Now the beauty of the Ra is that individually it has 3 forms. And in this section, I'll show you how to write all of the 3 forms, and I'd love for you to practice all of the 3 forms as well. Now we start off the Ra with, again, remember, there's not many linear shapes in the Thuluth script. There's a lot of curvature in the script. Look how I'm starting. Absolutely pointing straight. My qalam is straight. But there's a slight swivel. And I stop. It's like a smaller version of the beginning of the dal, the individual dal. Again, I draw the head of the Ra. Stop. Go down. Now, with the edge of my qalam, make the pointed shape. That's how your shape should be. Again, almost a right angle triangle that is on top of the initial letter of the Ra. Now watch how I'm going to bring the Ra down. This is now one of the exceptions. Very linear. Watch how I'm slowly bringing it down. Do not ever rush your letters. Look how my qalam is now changing direction. That is the change of direction that should be done. And if you have some areas like this left, you can use the tip of your qalam, but be very careful, because that tip can easily break and then there's problems in repairing it initially by yourself. Now we'll go through the proportion of this letter. We start from the top to the initial letter is 2.5 nuqtas. We have this area here where we started to curve is 2 nuqtas. The area from the Khat Kursi is around 2 nuqtas. A general shape, we can elongate it, they say around 6 to 7, depends on what you're writing. There's another variant of the Thuluth script known as the Muhakkak script, where they elongate the Ra's and the Noons, but over here you can have 6 to 7 dots. Over here you can see I've done 6 dots. From this line over here, it's around 1.5 to 2 dots. And that's your Ra, your initial Ra. This is the most common form of the Ra. Now another form of Ra that we can do is a very, very curved form of the Ra. Now watch this. There is no linear part of this letter whatsoever. We start like this. Look, it's going up. I'm going to stop. I'm only stopping here for the benefit of the viewers so they can easily see how I'm splitting the letter up. Now I go downwards. Now watch my column. Watch how I just changed the direction of the column. You can see, even through the strokes of the line, that my column stroke is changing. The orientation of the column is changing. You can see again, it's always pointing to a certain slant. Now, from the Khat-e Kursi, this letter goes below the Khat-e Kursi. The beauty of this is, look, one nukta from the Khat-e Kursi there, one nukta from there. Now from the lower part, this is not the Khat-e Kursi, but this is just the lower part, it's around 2 dots. From your end to around the beginning, it's around half a dot. Over here, it's 1.5 dots. That is your more curved form of the Ra. Now the last form of the Ra is, which is a style that is not commonly seen, but I'd love to show you the style as well. It's because many people mistakenly either write it or understand it or interpret it to be the Noon. But actually this is another form of the Ra as well, seen in the Thuluth script. Now again, we have that slight curvature that we had at the first Ra. Slightly bigger though this time. You do your head of the Ra. This is very important. You should get used to practicing this again and again. Now look what I'm going to do. I'm bringing it down like the Ra, but now I'm going up like the Dal and ending it like the Noon. This is another form of your Ra. You start from the Khat-e Kursi. It's around 1.5 dots from there. It's 4 dots in width. Your initial structure is around 3.5 dots, as you can see over here. From where you finish the letter to the beginning of the letter is 3 dots. And you can see we should try and fit the letter into some sort of shape. Over here we can put another nukta here. So these are the forms of Ra that you can practice, and all of these Ra, when you join them to another letter, they make the same shape, which is the beauty of the Ra. So I'd love everyone to practice this letter shape and to write this again and again along with the Dal, and do not forget about your previous letters. Carry on writing the Alif, carry on writing the Ba, and fill the pages. Make the Siyah Mashq, blacken the page again and again until you have perfected the letters, inshallah. Jazakallahu khair.